So you're the podcast expert. I'm not at all.
I wouldn't say that I'm the podcast expert on account of the fact that, like, to be a podcast expert, I think you have to have social media accounts, and at present I have none. So I make podcasts, but I don't actually know what happened to those podcasts. They kind of just disappear.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Is it willful ignorance?
It's some of it's willful ignorance. It's like you also choose the things that interest you.
Yeah.
And I would say the standard for my choosing isn't necessarily like what is most efficacious. Sure. It's kind of like what's most light and funky, you know?
I like it.
You know, it's like when you're picking a playlist, you don't necessarily pick the best music. You're not like, yes, they voted the Eagles' Hotel California as the greatest album of the 20th century, so I will listen to that album every time I listen to music. It's kind of like a mood thing. So my life is populated by weird commitments on the basis of strange moods.
I like it.
Yeah, thanks.
Well, my musical knowledge ends in the Baroque. So
okay.
Hotel California, you know, I mean.
Yeah, it's about hell.
Yes. Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, you see, I like it. There you go.
My music knowledge never begins.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, like
Very
a lot of things that I say, it's kind of incidental and anecdotal. It's like there was a guy at one point, I think I was in an Uber, and he told me about, I don't know if that's true. You should check it.
Well, you see, this is one of the things I loved studying at the House of Studies, because just when I thought that I was the weirdest person I knew, then I realized, hey, I fit in here.
Tip of the iceberg.
Yeah, like lower
You're
in the
normal.
weird. Yeah,
exactly.
right. It's awesome.
Yeah.
It's really good.
No, it's a great, I say that often. I thought I was this, that, and the other way before I entered the order, and then I learned. So like, for instance, I thought that I was a middling athlete. I am. And then I entered the Dominicans. I'm like, I'm a superstar.
Right? I'm basically Kobe Bryant.
I'm the best basketball player. No, I mean, well, when the people against whom you're competing know more about the prima secundae than they do about like basketball,
Right.
You're in decent company to dominate.
It's perfect.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so my self-evaluation changed in various ways. But I used to think that I was smart, and then I entered the Dominican. Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Which is actually why I didn't join the Dominicans. You see, because I just thought, you know what, I can't keep up with their basketball skills.
That's exactly. Yeah, nice. I like to tell people, like sometimes people ask, do you have to be smart to be a Dominican? I say no, but I typically respond with, you have to try, at least a little bit, to like learn. You know.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah. It seems like a prerequisite.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like it's a gesture of goodwill.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
So how long did it take for you to become a Dominican?
Good question. I suppose in the technical sense, a little over a year, because when you make your simple vows or your, like temporary profession, at that point you are a Dominican. I suppose I could also respond to that and say a lifetime, insofar as everything prior to my entry was preparatory. Sure. Everything since my entry is also preparatory, and the preparation is ultimately for heaven, where everyone will be Dominicans. Just kidding.
It's going to be a good place.
Exactly. Who are these men in white robes?
Filled with excellent basketball players.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I'll be just dunking over people and executing chase down blocks with savagery from start to finish.
It's going to be a beautiful vision.
Yes. In a waterfall.
In a waterfall.
On my own island.
Hey, perfect. Exactly. Oh, it sounds Mormon.
Oh, right. Yeah. I didn't say planet.
Okay. Yeah. Well, you said island.
Right. It's part of an archipelago. Yeah, we can swim in between.
Okay, very good.
Yeah, it's communal.
Yeah.
In a loose sense. I don't know. When I think about heaven sometimes, I'm kind of impressionistic in my thinking.
Okay.
So partially wed to images, but mostly wed to weird concepts. I like to think that in heaven, you'll have a sense for the part that everyone has played in your life. I don't know how you'll sense that. Obviously, before the general resurrection, it'll have to be a spiritual sensing. After the general resurrection, maybe it can be bodily to a certain extent. But like, you'll just recognize people, and you'll be like, hey, we didn't live in the same century, but I think I profited from your wisdom. You taught him? Yeah, well, he taught him, and thank you. Love that. Love that for us, Yeah, so I think the communion will be like a kind of grand exhalation of gratitude, something like that. But not inconsistent with dunking. Yeah.
And actually, what you bring up fascinates me, because both for dunking and for shared common vision, purpose, etc. Let's talk about that in view of the state of the separated soul.
Let's do that.
Because, I don't see how souls can dunk.
Yeah, that's a great point. No, I don't know that they can, except insofar as they can have Yeah, so this is going to be, so like you should put a warning on the video, Diocese of Orange, at this point, and say like, everyone who's normal, stop.
You're right.
Just stop. Just get off the bus.
Right, exactly.
You know, like unplug, save yourselves.
Right.
It's not too late.
Two people are about to get really nerdy.
Yeah, exactly. And then for
really
everyone else who spends a considerable amount of time deciding which pocket protector to buy next, this is the show for
Tune
you.
in. Yeah.
So great question. No bodies in heaven until such time as the general resurrection. So in what sense can we be said to dunk? I don't know, except insofar as like I think that dunking isn't just a bodily event. I also think it's a spiritual conquest.
Totally.
You know, because like when you dunk, especially over someone, you kind of lay that person at your feet. And maybe if it's a bad person, we'll say you lay him at your feet in a way that represents a kind of wholesale destruction of his spirit.
And God's election is accomplished.
Yeah, exactly.
Right,
Yep,
exactly.
yeah. So you feel his predestination wash over you.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. You kind of clothe yourself, as it were, in the divine pleasure.
Yep.
Yeah. And
Justice accomplished.
and you find that you can lift cars,
Yeah,
you know, and like save grandmas.
fantastic.
It's incredible. Yeah, but insofar as he's not your enemy, which I suppose he'll be in heaven, you'll be in heaven, you're not enemies, you're friends.
Exactly.
It'll be the type of thing in which you can corporately rejoice. Not insofar as it's just going to be a back and forth of each of us dunking over each other ad infinitum. I feel like that would be tiresome, and I have no desire to be dunked over. But I do think that there are certain individuals who will derive pleasure from trying to take a charge in the spiritual sense, you know, so they'll be like, you know, down there, and they'll get it like once out of every 3 times. Yeah. In the spiritual sense.
In the spiritual sense.
Yeah.
It seems particularly choleric, right? I mean, there's sort of this impetus to conquer.
Yep.
And so we're all going to be cholerics in heaven.
Maybe. You can't rule it out. I haven't thought about that. Okay, so I suspect that I am a choleric type in one way, shape, or form. I don't know a lot about the temperaments, and I don't know that I've taken the tests with sufficient attention.
I certainly have.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
But I do know that everything is a competition in the sense that like sometimes when I go to shower, I'll start counting. I'll be like, let's see if I can set a high score for speed, which isn't necessarily something that sets me apart as especially hygienic. People are like, you try to minimize the time? Is that, you're trying to, okay.
You sure you're not sort of Cistercian proximate? I don't know.
Yeah.
Like,
And it's incredible. When I sit in choir, there's like 3 stalls in every direction. You know, it's just kind of like a real ring around me. People don't want to sit for whatever reason.
yeah, it's your gift.
Yeah, as the cameras gradually shut down.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I kind of turn everything into a competition. I wonder what that would look like in heaven. My suspicion is that there isn't competition in heaven, but there is a kind of overcoming. It's like attaining to the mountaintop. I feel like in heaven you're going to fire on all cylinders. So you're going to get the thrill that you associate with competitive excellence, but maybe not with I hate you.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, and I think it's really important that we reflect on this, both in terms of people's vision of heaven being sort of land of harps.
Yes.
Or
Maybe dulcimers.
yeah, dulcimers.
Include some
right.
lutes.
Yeah, maybe even a sackbut, which
don't know what that
has
is,
to
but
be my
yes.
favorite Baroque instrument.
That's tremendous.
Yeah, isn't it great?
Okay,
yeah,
cool, yeah.
Heaven is full of Baroque trombones.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean,
I
has
was
to be.
hoping it would be.
Me too.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, you know, I mean, people seem to have sort of either harps and, you know, separated souls, and it's boring.
Yeah.
Or this quasi-Mormon, hyper-corporeal
Yeah.
vision of heaven in which we are, you know, I mean, maybe partaking a little bit too much of the goods of this earth.
Sure.
And I think that it's that confusion about what the state of the resurrected body will be
Yeah.
and what's that interim state. And I mean, presumably we're going to spend a lot of time in that interim state
Yep.
of the separated soul. So it's really interesting to reflect on.
I have a couple of quick thoughts. First is my characterization of the kind of lazy heaven that you described at first is to sit forever on a chaise longue while someone feeds you seedless fruits.
Grapes.
Grapes, perfect. Yeah, great. Yeah, nice. But also, I do think that our vision of heaven challenges us to like reflect on the urgent question, like, is God enough? Because like a lot of people are worried about who's going to be in heaven or what's going to be in heaven, like grandma, my dog, all of the seasons of Game of Thrones, or at least up until the point at which the show eclipsed the books. Apparently it got bad. I didn't watch it.
Neither
Not into
did I.
dragons. Yeah, exactly. Okay.
Right. Blind leading the blind here.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If I were into dragons, though, also, I sometimes read children's literature. This is unrelated. Have you ever read the Wingfeather Saga?
No.
Dragons feature prominently. I think it's for 7 to 11-year-olds.
Perfect.
Advertised by Amazon. But it's written by a gentleman named Andrew Peterson, who lives in Nashville, who is awesome. And beautiful. If you're looking for like I'm on retreat and I can only read Faustina's diary for 4 hours a day, Um,
Wow, I mean, I'm impressed.
I was showing off.
Yeah, right.
I've never read it.
Neither have I.
Yeah. The Wing Feather Saga is for you. Okay, so but back to heaven. I do think it challenges us insofar as sometimes we don't think that God's enough, or we fear that God's not enough. Right? So what is the principal delight of heaven?
Exactly.
It's God. It's got to be God. Which means that here on earth, we're meant to undergo like a progressive, whatever you would call it, acclimatization. Like we're meant to acquire that desire,
Yeah.
or even to experience it by way of foretaste.
And I mean, there are so many things that lead us into that foretaste, like grapes. And
Like
sackbuts.
grapes. Exactly.
Yeah.
Both end.
Both and. Yeah, right.
The sonic pleasures, the gustatory pleasures.
Indeed, so many.
Uh-huh.
Now, but let's talk about the state of the resurrected body then.
Yes.
Because that also is something that I certainly don't understand it to the best degree. No
one does.
Yeah, no one does, exactly.
Sorry, I should whisper closer to the shotgun mic. No one does.
Is that what that's called?
Yeah.
A shotgun mic.
Yeah.
You see, you are a podcaster.
I know
Yeah.
2 things so far.
Sack butts.
What the internet is, and that's a shotgun mic. Yeah.
Right, I like it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, in the state of the resurrected body, which is what we receive after the general resurrection, that the Lord makes us, as it were, fully human again. I mean, that we become not only separated souls in his sight if we make it, but also that the Lord glorifies our bodies and, we receive the 5 senses once again, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
I mean, what's that going to be like?
Short answer, no idea. Long answer, it seems like the only indication that we get is from sacred scripture, specifically from our Lord's resurrected body. I think anything else, at least most everything else, is just kind of like science fiction. So when the medieval theologians consulted the sacred scriptures, they said, okay, it seems to be the case that there's some continuity between your body whilst here on earth and your body in heaven after the general resurrection, because our Lord bears his wounds.
Right.
So like,
He can eat.
how does that continuity work?
Right.
And they ask weird questions about like complicated situations. Like what if, they actually asked this question, so like what if you die and your body is happened upon by a group of cannibals and they go to town? Sorry, this became a non-kid-friendly show anymore.
I love it.
Yes, okay,
Yeah,
perfect.
that's
Yeah,
good.
you were hoping the cannibalism would come up.
I really was.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. And Mormons.
So like your body just became someone else's body.
Okay.
How's that going to get sorted out in the general resurrection? I think that the majority response is, for those of you who are listening to the audio version of this podcast,
You just grimaced.
Yeah,
in a
well,
beautiful way.
I actually just did a back handspring.
I see.
Yeah, which was wild.
Your under teeth sort of pulled back. It was sort of a rictus, but like a happy rictus.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Sing ye joyfully to the
so
Lord.
we know not.
Right.
Who doth? It's not clear. Okay, so then we look further at our Lord, and they'll say, well, it seems like he can't suffer any further. It seems like he's walking through walls. It seems like he's disappearing, after the breaking of the bread and the revelation of his person.
Emmaus.
It seems like he's just showing up. So they'll come up with various qualities of the resurrected body, which they list as so impassibility,
Right.
clarity, agility, subtlety, all of which amount to like, what's our Lord doing in the Gospels, and might we partake of something similar?
Exactly.
And it seems like the answer is yes, insofar as that's the only indication that we have.
Right.
And the thing that I'm looking forward to the most is narrative continuity, but then kind of higher realization of communion. Because I think like at present, we experience our bodies as a kind of obstacle to communion.
Yeah.
Depending on who you're talking to, whatever. Like we experience distance in relationships, and we're like, would that we were closer, but alas, we cannot occupy the same space because of this mortal flesh. When we get in a Shakespearean mood.
Right. Sack butts. Again,
Sack butts.
I tell you.
Do those appear in Shakespearean literature?
If they don't, they ought to.
They ought to.
Yeah.
No, that's a great point. I think it was in a Shakespeare class, we had like a handout with various Shakespearean insults, which is nice, just to kind of have that in your back pocket.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Because sometimes you're looking to just revile someone, but to do so in a way that he can't detect as actually grossly detestable.
Right.
And so you just translate it to 17th century hieratic English.
Perfect.
And then it's very satisfying for you. It's totally unrecognizable for him. Everyone wins.
Oh yeah,
I've
absolutely.
never done this before, but I recommend to no one.
Well,
Okay, so
and if you're into the Shakespearean mood, I mean, there's one that I really like, which is something about a bare bodkin, which is apparently a knife.
yes,
So, if you want to stab someone, instead of a shiv, you have a bare bodkin.
exactly. No, it sounds far more noble.
It does.
So like when you're before the jury, you're like, I'm sorry, I'm not sure if we're on the same page.
Right.
You guys are saying dagger or knife alternately, which, cheers to you.
Absolutely.
I just want to clarify, it's a bare bodkin.
It's a bare bodkin.
Yeah, okay.
Right,
Yeah, great.
exactly.
Does that not change your mind? I was thinking that
Yeah,
would.
right.
Okay.
Exactly. And then you bring out your sack button. You go at it. And,
You're sultry.
Right,
Your
you're
harp,
sultry,
your
your harp,
lute.
your
Yeah.
zither.
Yeah, you could do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. You bring out your 4 closest bros and you say, care for a quintet?
Yeah, right.
No, I've done that several times.
Sounds particularly Dominican House of Studies, sort
Yes.
of Saturday afternoon.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
No, yeah. I like to pretend that I'm a normal person, but at one point people are like, hey, what do you do for fun? I'm like, I like to take walks and I listen to podcasts in different languages. And they're like, okay.
Right. Exactly.
How many languages? I said 4 15-minute segments each. They're like, that sounds a lot like work.
Right.
I asked you about enjoyment. It's like, well, I have no friends.
I mean, you're going to love the state of the separated soul.
Oh yeah.
I can just see it.
No, instant language acquisition,
Exactly.
provided that the Lord infuses it. Because that's the thing.
Exactly.
Without senses,
How
you
you-
can't do new stuff because
Can't do
that's
it.
the way that we do new stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Can't really even know much. I mean, unless the Lord is sort of zapping you.
exactly. Yeah, which is how the angels know.
Exactly.
Zapitude.
Zaps.
Yep. Yeah, and we'll be like angels except insofar as we'll still be looking for the body.
Right.
We'll be on the bod hunt.
Exactly.
Yeah. Whereas the angels are like, bod? What bod? There's no
Right.
bod
Exactly.
here. Yeah.
And no bodkins either.
No bod? No, that's right, because
Yeah.
they can't lay hold of them
They can't.
on account of the no hands. Although they can manipulate matter. Yes.
Exactly. Without moving.
Without moving. Yeah, so they themselves can assemble matter and appear before you in bodily shape, or they can directly interface with your sensorium. I hope that people listen to this and also read the transcript simultaneously so that they can come across the words interface directly with your sensorium.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, I mean, an angel, a bare bodkin, and a sack butt.
Yes.
I mean, all of this is possible.
No, honestly, but the thing is, provided that it's done in the conservatory and Mrs. White is waiting in the wings,
Yes,
I think we've got
exactly.
ourselves a BBC special.
We do. Indeed. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can hear the theme song even as we're going. It's quasi Downton Abbey, but it's also got a little bit of, I don't know, Band of Brothers in there.
Yeah, like some jazzy dissonance?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
So where were we?
We were at the part where we were talking about heaven,
Oh, that's right.
but I think at this point we could put like a little warning back on the video that says, for those of you who were in no wise interested in the last 7 minutes, you might be interested in this.
Right.
And that will like force us to say normalish things, at least for a time, before we regress to our old ways.
Right,
Yeah,
exactly.
before we backslide.
Right.
Yeah.
Aber auf Deutsch?
Ja, genau. Das wäre schön.
Stimmt.
Also sprichst du Deutsch?
Ein klein bisschen. Aber mein Bruder und meine Schwägerin wohnen in Innsbruck.
In Innsbruck?
Ja.
Ah, cool. Das ist schön. Also
schön.
ich war in der Schweiz während 3 Jahren.
Ja.
Und dann habe ich eine kurze Sprachschule in Berlin und in Wien gemacht. Also habe ich ein bisschen Deutsch gelernt. Ja,
Ausgezeichnet.
ja, es ist schön.
Sehr schön.
Cool.
Cool.
Das gefällt mir sehr.
Ja.
Okay, so my proposal to you is we talk about earth, but like earth towards heaven.
Perfect.
Because I think sometimes people think about earth like delayed gratification zone. It's like to be a Christian is to deny yourself good things in the hopes that you get those good things in heaven. It's like so easy on the Sour Patch Kids.
Right.
Because in heaven, there'll be like a Chuck E. Cheese ball pit filled with Sour Patch Kids. And you're going to do swan dives for all eternity.
And this is basically my childhood dream.
Yeah, exactly. But at a certain point, you left that childhood dream behind.
I did.
And then you began living for the other side. So maybe a question for you is, what does it mean to live here on earth with an eye to heaven without then like not caring about earth or like disinvesting, that's a made up word, but like drawing away from earth? Because if you like tell people like, hey, I'm living for heaven, so like I'm never gonna respond to your text messages. And also if your house burns down, I'm not going to bring you casseroles because it doesn't matter. People would be like, you're a bad person.
Indeed.
Yeah, so like, how is it that living for heaven doesn't get us, I don't know, removed from earth?
Yeah, well, it's a really good question. I mean, This mic is just fantastic, by the
It
way.
is.
I'm sorry. It's
Yeah.
just, I
A
did
veritable tower of power.
It is. It's great. Yes. And that is where we are, by the way, speaking of being on earth. Yeah. So, I mean, as a diocesan priest, and of course, you're a Dominican, I'm a diocesan priest, our lives are very similar, but they're also different in very specific ways. My life is completely parochial. It is.
You have a practical intellect, and I don't. I show up at the airport and I just go, and then eventually somebody with a wheelchair just sits me down and takes me to my plane.
Right, exactly.
Whereas you're the one giving directions in the terminal.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I mean, I never saw myself as a diocesan priest when I was first discerning. In fact, it's still surprising to me that I'm a diocesan priest. I mean, you know, that I actually enjoy it.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
sometimes I think you're a pastor of a parish. You like it.
Yeah.
I mean, 20 years ago, that was not on the radar screen, you know, but I think it's pertinent to your question because, you know, last night we were chatting and I mentioned that while I had done doctoral studies, I don't really use it at all. You know, my life is invested in like black mold removal processes.
Yes.
And
mold mitigation.
mold mitigation.
Yes.
Yeah, that's basically my life.
They are at the heart of the church.
Right.
They mitigate mold. Quote, St. Therese of Lisieux with emendation.
Exactly. Perfect. But I mean, if I don't pay attention to the mold, then people's journey to heaven in my parish
It's complicated.
is complicated.
Yeah.
You know, and so I have to constantly pay attention to quotidian realities, which are not actually the things I like paying attention to, like mold.
Yeah.
But it's absolutely important that I pay attention to that for the sake of my people. And so living life in a parish forces me to be involved in very basic human realities, some of which are fun, and some of which are really not fun at all. And yet, in doing so, people's ability to see God seems to actually be improved somehow. They don't have to look through a haze of asbestos-related mold issues. Yeah. So personally, I think that I find my life as a diocesan priest being a very earth-focused reality, but with a view to helping people get to heaven on a constant daily basis.
People say that priests have a homily or two or three or four, however many one has in his arsenal, to preach. What would you say your particular emphases in preaching that help orient people to the life to come?
Oh gosh, that's a really good question. Well, I would say that there's a slight difference because I'm in a bilingual parish.
Yep.
And very much a Hispanic parish with a lot of Anglos as well. And the way in which I talk to those two communities is different.
Yeah.
Right? Because the needs are different.
Yeah.
So also my homiletic style and that which I preach on has to be different.
Sure.
So to give you an example, we had an event, about a year and a half ago, where a priest who was a custodian of a relic of St. Jude brought the arm bone of St. Jude to my parish. Now I was thinking, okay, arm bone of St. Jude, cool. I like relics. I mean, speaking of the general resurrection.
I'm here for it.
Relics are great.
Yeah.
The line formed at 8 a.m. and didn't end until 1 a.m. the next day.
Oh.
Because the Hispanic community is absolutely in love with relics and with St. Jude.
Wow.
As a gringo, it's just very hard for me to even understand.
Yeah.
It's wonderful. It's beautiful.
Yep.
Maybe some of them need to be introduced to Jesus as well, but nonetheless, right? It was incredible to see that.
Yeah.
White people, right? I mean, the gringos, quote unquote, we're all mystified. We're all mystified.
Yeah.
So I think that the way in which I speak to these two different congregations has to necessarily take into consideration the way in which their Catholicism leads them to heaven, and it does it in different ways.
Yeah.
So if I talk about relics in a very passionate way to the English-speaking, largely Anglo population in my parish, it doesn't get them going in the same way as if I talk about an arm bone of St. Jude to those folks. So all of that is to say, I think that I have two different ways of preaching to two very different communities. And I'm learning I'm not Hispanic at all, so I'm learning the Hispanic side, largely from my parochial vicar who's from Mexico and who occasionally tells me, no, that's not gonna work for them, which is really helpful.
Yep.
So my homiletic style is developing in this regard. It's different for each community. I mean, how much do you get to preach these days? You're from a member of the Order of Friars Preachers. I assume it's a lot.
I preach some, not as much as a diocesan priest probably. So like we have mass together in the morning, for which I'm present when I'm home.
Cool.
And I might be celebrating that mass 3 or 4 times a week, and then I might have a mass out 2 or 3 times a week. So we have like various parish commitments as a house, and you might sign up for 1 or 2 with the Dominican sisters here, the Dominican nuns there, or the Sisters of Life here, or this parish there, or the Basilica of the National Shrine of the Immaculate Conceptions across the street. I do like supply work for a small Spanish-speaking parish, which is like 30 minutes north of where I live.
Awesome.
Which is fun, called the Misión San Andrés. And I find that most of my preaching, like I would say like I have a kind of daily preaching, but a lot of it's on the internet. And then some of it's just kind of by way of like random little talk at a college campus or random little talk at, thus and such and yada, yada. I would say that like one of the things that I find very precious, or an opportunity that I find precious, is to underline what the Lord actually promises. And then just to kind of communicate that whilst building a bridge to people's experience. Yeah. So I don't know how many people are sad or angry or whatever, but like my impression is a good volume of people are sad and angry.
It's a good bet.
Yeah. But I think that in Christian communities, sometimes folks are like a little bit embarrassed about that, or they feel if I'm a Christian, then I ought to project joy, happiness, positivity, whatever. And I like to just say like, hey, be curious about what you're going through, be honest with what you find, and know that the Lord's promises actually correspond to what you're experiencing.
Yeah.
Because I think that like, for instance, people hear about forgiveness and they might imagine that forgiving is kind of twisting yourself in a knot or performing a certain amount of mental gymnastics to convince yourself that you don't hate this person. Whereas that's probably not the case. Like you might just hate this person. Right. And I'm not going to say like that's okay, but I think it's a point at which you have to start.
Absolutely.
So it's like, oh, I hate this person. Jesus, I don't love the fact that I hate this person. And, he or she has done whatever, which seemingly merits that. But I can't hate, like that's not part of the deal. Or if it is my present experience, it's something that I got to mature beyond. But I probably have to heal some, and I probably have to grow some. So like, heal me, grow me, so like you can kind of come before your experience like a beggar. And I think that gives us an appetite for heaven. Because if we like impose rules without checking in, then it can be kind of weird or just creepy. I don't know how to describe it best, but so like helping people just kind of make the connection between their present experience and the life to come, and saying like, the Lord isn't scandalized by what you're experiencing. He's not going to leave you there, but you actually have to, like offer it to him.
Yeah, totally.
In some way, shape, or form.
And, when you were speaking about that, it made me think, I think that a lot of people forget that God hears everything that we think, right? That God is completely aware of what's going on inside of us. Yeah. And so why not share it with him? I mean, if you do in fact hate someone, he already knows. So, I mean, you might as well bring it into the light. Yeah. Because if you don't bring it into the light, then, I mean, you're not fooling God, you're just fooling yourself. Yeah. And the path towards repentance begins with that sort of self-knowledge that the Lord, has to give us for us to be able to move forward. Everything, we need grace for everything. But at the same time, if he allows us to have that self-awareness that I really do, in fact, hate this person. Lord, that's not good. I need to bring this before you. I think a lot of conversion can happen in that way. Yeah. I mean, that first initial awareness that we need to work on something in our lives.
And I think people put pressure on themselves to make a perfect offering.
Yeah.
Like I can only bring to the Lord what I've already kind of gussied up or shined up or whatever else. When the Lord's already done that, so like he gave us his son suffered and died and rose from the grave. That's the perfect offering. Right. So we can graft whatever offerings we make into that offering and know that the Lord will love it and accept it. Not to trivialize ours, but it's just to say like ours doesn't have to be that great. And I think it's very freeing to recognize that it isn't that great.
Yeah, totally.
Like God doesn't love me because of me.
Right.
He loves me because he's in the business of loving, and he makes me lovable.
Right.
So yeah, there's freedom to be found there.
And speaking about that, I mean, in our own lives of discernment, in the different ways in which we have entered the very similar lives, but different in a very focused way. Sure. A lot of people probably look at us and think, you have exactly the same life. One of you is wearing white.
Well, it's like Jedi, Sith, Yeah.
So which is which?
Both like kind of involved with the Force, but like your lightsabers are a different color.
That's true. Yeah. Do I get the double one?
You can have whichever one you want. I don't know.
I want that. I'm not a big Star Wars person, but one of them has like it's shooting out on both sides.
Yep.
I like that.
No, yeah, I'm not a big Star Wars person either, but I remember the Phantom Menace because it was one of the biggest letdowns
It was
in the
pretty
entire
awful.
world.
Exactly.
And it was Darth Maul who had the double guy.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So I don't actually know. I don't usually go like Jedi Sith when it comes to Dominican identification. I usually go Harry Potter Ravenclaw.
I like it.
You know, just kind of like
Yep. Exactly.
yeah, but with like Slytherin tendencies. You know, just like always kind of
Right.
hanging out in the corner, like
Right,
just pointing fingers.
Which I'm definitely Hufflepuff. I
Yeah,
mean, because
which-
no one thinks about.
You've got some Gryffindor in you, though.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you've got a certain nobility of spirit.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm just a nerd,
Just-
just looking to defend my territory.
right. But I mean, no one talks about Hufflepuff.
No one does talk about Hufflepuff, but there are some gems in Hufflepuff. Who is it, like Ernie McMillan or something like that?
Something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Hufflepuff is overlooked
Hufflepuff is overlooked.
and pretty basic, but I mean, they're good people.
They are good people.
They're good people. I think
Yeah.
they're into plants. Wasn't
That's right.
the plant person? She was in Hufflepuff.
Yeah, I think you're right.
The botanist.
Yeah,
lady?
what was her name?
I can't remember.
Yeah. It'll come to us.
Yes.
Like in the middle of a profound thought.
Professor.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. Do you guys know?
Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
okay,
Do you
yeah.
know
Sprout.
Professor Sprout? Well done. Well done.
Oh my gosh.
I'm impressed
Thanks. Yeah.
and deeply edified.
Thanks.
Yeah.
And when I turned in the first chapter of my dissertation, I was so like distended as a human being. Like my brain was over here and my feet were over. I was like blurg. So I was like, it was the middle of the summer and I hadn't taken vacation that year. It had been like whatever, like 11. It doesn't matter. Brother Gregory, your life is so hard. Somebody cooks your meals. Okay, but I just like paused and
Yeah.
I just read the first 3 Harry Potter books.
I mean, I'm right there with you, man.
Thank you.
It's the Harry Potter books and Downton Abbey have a similar place in my mind.
Nice.
I remember I was talking to one of your confreres. This was years ago. I was a seminarian, and there was a very awful, boring moment when I was in seminary. I had to go to one of these things, you know.
Yeah.
And what was it? It was some sort of pastoral thingy.
Yeah, right.
And there was literally nothing for me to do.
Yes.
And you're in this weird liminal interim phase where you're neither fish nor fowl. No one wants to relate to you as a layman, but you are a layman.
Yep.
And there's nothing you can do for anyone.
Not playing the sack butt, not playing the lute.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You've got a zither, but it's in the closet. And you can't bring it out.
Yeah.
It's just awful.
It's
right?
tough, yeah.
And I was bored out of my mind.
Yeah.
Okay. And I'll never forget. It was great advice. I had never watched Downton Abbey. Okay. Never. I knew that it existed, but I mean, it wasn't even complete yet. You know, I mean, it's been complete for years. And I called Father Thomas Joseph White.
Nice.
Okay. And I said to him, Father Thomas Joseph, I'm bored out of my mind. I have absolutely no idea what to do. And he said, you should binge watch Downton Abbey. And
Wisdom
be attentive. The doors. Yeah. And I mean, saved me.
That's awesome.
I mean, it was really great. So Hufflepuff, reading Harry Potter, Downton Abbey. I mean, we need these things.
That's it.
It's really
That's it.
important.
Exactly.
Yeah. So you turned in, I mean, tell me a little bit more about your dissertation. So you finished in Fribourg when?
Here we go. Let's give another warning to the viewers / listeners. Okay, at this point, you want your eyes to glaze over.
Right.
And if you could have like just a little dribble of drool coming from the left side of your mouth, that'd be ideal because that's the response I typically provoke.
You also need to start twitching.
Yes, exactly.
It's kind of important.
So ask the question, like formulate the question as if you were interested and then immediately start looking at your phone.
Right.
Okay, perfect. Yeah.
Scroll. Just doom scroll.
Anything is better than this. Lord, shut my humanity down. So I wrote about how Christ saves, specifically like the shape of salvation. My question was, why does Christ live a whole life? Because it's not necessary that he live a whole life.
Yeah.
Like he could have come, snapped his fingers,
We're
made clear that we were redeemed and then left.
Yep.
But instead, he chose to live a whole life.
Yeah.
So it was focusing on a particular part of St. Thomas's kind of Summa Theologiae or his masterwork, which considers how like the shape of Christ's life is actually meant to be the shape of our life. That in effect.
Cool.
So I was in Freiburg for 3 years in the most beautiful country that I've ever been to.
Schweiz.
In der Schweiz, ganz genau. Und
Auf Deutsch?
ja, ich bin sehr oft in den Bergen gelaufen und es war schön.
Sehr schön.
So it's like Freiburg is like 30 minutes from
The mountains.
the trailheads, and then if you want to like really go into the big mountains, an hour and 25 minutes, and it's just devastatingly beautiful. So
And a McDonald's Big Mac costs like $40.
that's true.
It's fantastic.
Honestly, I don't know that I ever went into McDonald's, but I went into the Burger King quite a bit
Yeah.
because there was the spot I had a certain amount of money to spend each month, and it was from that money that I would buy food for people who didn't have money for food. But like I always got asked like right outside of the Burger King. So I was like a great Burger King patron, but I never actually ate any Burger King. It was just like, it was great. This was my life.
This is great.
Yeah, I was like, I can't give you money, but I can buy you Burger King. And they're like, let's go.
Let's go.
Yeah, so,
That's great. I love it. Now, I've not been to Freiburg. I've been to Switzerland, but I've not been to Freiburg. Is it principally French speaking or principally German speaking?
So the city is principally French speaking, but on the other side of the bridge and certain like neighborhoods which still pertain to the city of Freiburg, they speak German. Okay. So it's a principally French-speaking city and a principally French-speaking canton, which is their fancy word for state.
Right.
But then there are German-speaking parts, both of the city and of the canton. But they refer to that line that divides French and German-speaking places as the Röstigraben. Yeah. So it's like Rösti is the name of a food that they make in the German-speaking side. Yeah.
Potatoes, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like Spitzel or
yeah,
potato pasta kind of
delicious.
thing. Yeah.
Oh man, it's good. So you were in Freiburg.
Yes.
You were in this magnificent place near the Bergen, near the mountains. I mean, it was just stunning beyond belief. And you're writing about exemplarity in Aquinas. And you think, I love my life, but I'm also writing about exemplarity. No, I'm kidding. I mean, it's I don't know about you, but when I did my doctorate in Rome, and sometimes I just thought, my goodness, I'm in this magnificent city. This is awesome, but I might as well be in Cleveland.
Yeah, right.
Because, I mean, except that I walk outside and, there's a fountain. I mean, it's easy to get consumed by what you're doing.
Oh, certainly. Couple of thoughts. One, I was there during the pandemic, so I attended 0 classes.
Oh,
the only thing that I did was write a thesis, which presumably you can do from anywhere they have a decent library.
Right.
But my, province wanted to send me there, and they sent me there, and cheers. I was glad to be sent there.
Sure.
The next thing was I got advice upon, receiving that assignment to not work on Saturdays and Sundays. Because, I can be like a little worker bee, and I'll be like, I'm just going to maximize. And then, all of a sudden, I'm face down in a puddle of my own exhausted sweat, just wondering what happened to me. And I was like, I don't. So people were like, hey, take the weekends off. So basically, every Saturday I went hiking.
Nice.
And I only got myself, lost or near dead, 4 times.
That's perfect.
Which for me is decent.
There you go.
I'm a real lost or near dead kind of guy. And then on Sundays, I would meet young people all over the country, and as many people know, the German-speaking church has some difficulties.
Let's talk about them.
With the faith and with the sacraments and with governance, with everything.
Yeah.
So I'd show up and young people would be like, "Wait a second, are you willing to teach and preach with a modicum of competence?" And I was like, "I think I am." And they'd be like, "Are you willing to celebrate the sacraments with a modicum of dignity?"
Why,
I think I am. They're like, never leave us. So it was every Sunday was an apostolic rodeo. And then
so cool.
It became every Monday and Tuesday night and then Thursday, whatever. It was great. So I met a bunch of people in a bunch of different places, and I was really glad. I was glad. I was really glad for the opportunity. So it's interpersonally rich and a beautiful experience.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Do they have the Kirchensteuer there? I mean,
they do.
They do. So the church tax is, I think, kind of a wild thing from an American perspective. Yeah. So the churches in German-speaking countries are, doing really well financially.
In the words of Ghostface Killer from the Wu-Tang Clan, cash moves everything around me. Cream, get the
make
money.
It rain.
Yeah,
make it rain. And from an American perspective, this is just bizarre.
Yeah.
That you're taxed by the state to live the faith, but this is a sort of sacred cow, and I don't mean to.
But it's a 20th century thing. You know, I think it is.
Okay.
I don't know that it was ever practiced with the same comprehensiveness or at the same rate up until the 20th century. Yeah.
Fascinating. But there was desire among the young people, it sounds like, for,
like the natural law.
Right.
So people are always going to recognize what corresponds to their deepest desires, even if
totally.
those deepest desires have been beaten repeatedly.
Out of them.
Yeah. We'll try. You can't.
Yeah.
You can't blot it out.
You can't do it.
Yeah. As long as you have a nature, you've got a natural law.
It's very interesting because I was, as a layman, but I was in Belgium prior to entering seminary as a graduate student in theology.
Spreekt u Nederlands?
Terribly.
Een beetje?
Yeah, exactly. About that.
Ik ook een beetje.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Look at that. Your Dutch is much better than mine. I can basically say I need a big bag from the grocery store.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, een grote zak, alsjeblieft.
Nice.
Yeah, that's it.
I can say een glas water.
Oh, yeah, there you go. And I can say een duvel, which is a beer,
Cool.
and you can actually order it with hand signals. Did you
Get
know that?
out,
Yeah.
no.
Oh yeah. So if you do this which is obviously kind of,
Yeah.
outre, but I mean, if you make the devil sign
Yeah.
in a Belgian bar,
Yeah.
they know exactly what you mean.
Incredible.
Yeah, it means a duvel, a beer. Yeah,
Awesome.
and it's a really good beer, a blonde, very nice. I mean, it's just that perfect, flavor.
It's
Yeah,
got that. How would you say I don't know? Ich weet nicht.
yeah, exactly. There you go. Yeah, right. Dutch is such a weird language.
Oh, I love it though. It's like cute.
Yeah, I think my favorite street in Leuven, where I was living, was Drinkwaterstraat.
Yes.
Right, which means tap water street.
That's awesome.
Right, but it's spelled exactly like Drinkwaterstraat.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, so Drinkwater Street. I mean, it's just fantastic.
It is.
Yeah, and
For this
also
we've come to the
sheep,
world.
right, is with 2 A's instead of 2 E's. Wow. So it's a shop. It's just, I don't know. It's a very cute language.
It is.
Yeah.
And if you just pronounce German like a drunk American, you're close.
You're pretty close to
Yeah,
Dutch.
yeah.
Yeah, I found that sometimes I'll be traveling or something and I'll hear some people, not so much from Belgium, but from Holland speaking. And for a second, I think that they're just from Ohio.
Nice.
That they're just speaking English with a very thick Midwestern accent.
Yeah.
And then I realize that I don't understand anything. And it's
And then
a
you
win.
know that they're from
Yeah,
Ohio.
But you see, in the resurrection, exactly, then I know I'm from Greater Cincinnati or something like this.
Exactly.
Yeah. I went to a wedding of a friend of mine in Belgium who was native Hungarian American, and his wedding was bizarre because it was all these Americans from Ohio, but the whole wedding was in Hungarian.
Tremendous.
Like everything was in Hungarian.
Tremendous.
The party was in Hungarian,
Yes.
and I mean his family is Hungarian speaking, and it was an awesome wedding. It was really cool. It was
Yeah.
in Belgium. I was a layman at the time, but I just remember thinking these Ohioans, these Hungarian Ohioans, are from a completely different universe than I am in the United States. Plus, they have a beer named after a burning river.
That's right.
Which is cool.
That is. That's nice.
It's really cool because you know that you're in a cool place when the river itself sets lights on fire.
5 times.
Yeah, 5 times?
Yeah, I think the Cuyahoga, both the Cuyahoga and the Rouge, which is the one who goes through Detroit, I think they both lit on fire multiple times.
So, Father, I just want to know, I mean, you chose a pretty wonderful but odd, from society standards, calling, vocation. I mean, how'd that happen?
Well, I said to myself, seems like a lot of people are wearing dresses.
And I want to be one.
Yeah, no, good question. So I talk a lot, or I talk about vocation with a certain frequency. I've developed a kind of idiosyncratic theory as to what constitutes a vocation. I don't know if that it's shared by anybody under the sun, or if it has ecclesiastical approbation, but will that stop me from sharing it? Okay, here we go. So I think that there's only one vocation. Oh, sure, I should say lexically, what is a vocation? Vocare is to call. Specifically, it's to call out of. So like out of something otherwise not blessed to something blessed in some way, shape, or form. I think there's one vocation. It's to the vision of God in heaven, insofar as all of us are called out of a state of sinfulness to the life of beatitude.
Yeah.
And that call is proffered by Christ. It's accomplished by him. It remains for us to lay hold of it. It remains for us to appropriate it. Now, to that end, God gives us various means. Obviously, our Lord Jesus Christ, his church, the sacraments, the ministers. You can think about all the things that preaching, teaching, lives of the saints, etc., whatever. We have so many means at our disposal for attaining to the life of heaven. Now, one of those means are states of life, which is a kind of way in which one fixes himself or fixes herself in a posture for the living of Christian life. And I would say those 3 states, those 3 recognized ecclesial states, broadly conceived, are priesthood, consecrated life, and then the married state. I typically wouldn't say that the single life is a state, and more on that soon.
Amen, alleluia. Couldn't agree with you more.
There you go.
Yeah.
So I think that we call those vocations lowercase v vocations by comparison to the one uppercase v vocation, which is the life of heaven, because they kind of shape or they give a certain concretion to our pursuit of heaven.
Yep.
So what is heaven? It's covenant love, permanent, stable, can't be diminished, can't be lost. What are these things? Well, we make vows or we make promises as a kind of, as the beginning of that covenant love, or as a kind of promise to the unfolding of that covenant love. And there's something about it that's permanent and stable. There's something about it that accelerates your pursuit of the life of heaven. Or at least it shapes it. Maybe just leave it at that. So I think that sometimes people want to call more things vocations, or they want to call more things states of life because they're afraid that people will be left out.
Yeah.
Which I think is like a good, it's like an honorable thing to want to include people, especially in the love of God. But I think that what we should insist on is everyone has an uppercase V vocation, which is the life of heaven. God desires that all be saved and come to the knowledge of the truth. What is more, God gives all of us means sufficient to that one end: Christ, church, sacraments, ministers, all these good things besides. Right. To some, he gives a state of life, all right, in the sense of priesthood, consecrated life, or marriage. To some, he doesn't. And the reasons for that are mysterious, and there's a real pain and suffering associated with it. And I think the church could probably do a better job ministering to folks who feel kind of left out or lost as a result. But I do think that we should emphasize the unity of that call, and then also emphasize the abundance of the means which God gives. Other people use the word vocation to describe like jobs or like other things besides.
Vocational school.
Yeah. I think those would be like avocations,
Yeah.
So uppercase V vocation, lowercase v vocation, avocation, etc.
And you have kind of an interesting one because, in a sense, you have one foot in two camps.
That's right.
And so, can you say a little bit more about what it means not only to be a priest,
Sure,
my vocation,
Yep.
but to be a religious priest, which sometimes I think is nomenclature that folks get a little, I'm not a religious. Wait, Father, what the heck do you mean? I'm a secular.
Right.
But you're a religious, so
Yep.
say a little bit more.
Yeah, so I think that a priest is ordained. It gives him a character, right? So you get character at baptism, confirmation, and priesthood. Gives him a character to kind of lift up the prayers and sacrifices of the people, and then to bestow divine things from on high. His ordination is especially ordered to his celebration of the Holy Mass, all right? So it configures him to Christ and his priesthood as both priest and victim. And so there's a way in which, like, the logic of the priesthood is God is near, all right? That God pours himself out. So I think a priest is in relationship with his people. It is a relationship with our Lord Jesus Christ. He's meant to be another Christ, to act in the person of Christ. But that configuration and the grace that comes with that configuration is for pastoral service. Whereas in the life of a religious, it's more so that one sets aside certain things so as to be more wholehearted in his pursuit of the one thing necessary. So like he sets aside possessions, family life, marriage. He sets aside self-determination, self-rule. Not that those things are bad. They're good.
Yep.
But he sets them aside so as to leave more space or kind of greater openness to that radical following of the Lord Jesus. So is that not available to other people? No, it is available to other people. So all of us are called to follow those counsels in spirit. But there's a kind of literalism in the religious's appropriation of that call.
Sure.
Where he lives not just in spirit, but also in fact. And yeah, I'm actually grading the work of one of my students apropos of this theme. But like basically the perfection that the councils bring about is a perfection which facilitates. It's a perfection which helps. So like by virtue of the fact that one is a religious, he is not thereby higher than non-religious. All right, but he has embraced means to the end, which is heaven, which are really good means, like the really efficacious means or the really expedient means. That's the basic idea, I think.
And in your very particular form of religious life, you're a mendicant.
Right.
Can you say a little bit about what being a Dominican religious is all about?
Yes, so the basic idea is that each religious community has a kind of charism. So all Catholic, profess the whole of the Catholic faith, live the whole of the Catholic sacramental life, espouse the whole of the like the Catholic governance. But then there are particular kind of things that they have a keen insight into, or works that they're especially dedicated to. You can think about it in terms of the mystical body. Like there's a particular place assigned to them, or there's a particular role assigned to them.
Sure.
So Dominicans are called to preach for the salvation of souls, and it's supposed to be a kind of learned preaching, a doctrinal preaching. So there are various ways that you can preach. There's like apologetic preaching, where you're fending off kind of bad arguments. Right. Charismatic preaching, where you're setting forward the Lord Jesus. Catechetical preaching, where you're helping people to like receive the sacraments well. Moral preaching, where you're teaching them how to live. And then what you might call mystagogical preaching, where you set before them the very mysteries of the faith as nourishment. And you also instruct them in the life of perfection. And I would say that Dominicans are especially dedicated to that work of setting the mysteries before the people of God for their nourishment and of instructing them in Christian perfection.
Contemplare et contemplata.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the idea is like, so the line that you just quote so contemplare et contemplata ali tradere, which means to contemplate and to give to others the very things that you've contemplated, the very like mysteries themselves that you've contemplated, the very God whom you've contemplated. So the idea is that a Dominican ought to live his life of prayer and study in dedicated fashion, like a whole burnt offering, just given to the Lord on high, such that when he descends that mountain of sacrifice, and comes before the people of God, they're like, ooh, there's something going on here. Like that guy's seen somebody, and that somebody whom he has seen is somebody.
Somebody.
Yeah, is certainly somebody.
So cool. I have to say that while I'm not a Dominican, I absolutely loved my time at the Dominican House of Studies in D.C. and then my time at the Angelicum in Rome, precisely because of this. This passion for contemplating the Lord and then bringing that knowledge down and communicating it to others. I mean, it's a real gift of your order. I mean, dare I say, it is the charism of your order. And I'm grateful to have been, formed by it. A lot of Dominicans. Some of you are really weird. But it's all right, But it's a beautiful weirdness, and it's great. It's great. We don't have Dominicans as much in this diocese, but we have a Norbertine Abbey, which is not Dominican, but proximate in terms of Dominic himself was a canon regular, and the Norbertines here are canons regular. In fact, there is, I've heard from Norbertines, some idea that perhaps Dominic may have been a premonstratensian, and that there are certain iconographic representations of him in which he is portrayed in a premonstratensian or Norbertine habit. Is that true?
I don't know.
Yeah,
I mean, like a lot of people say he was a kind of Augustinian canon, insofar as they followed the rule of St. Augustine, or like an adapted rule of St. Augustine, perhaps. Also, like Norbertine legislation features pretty prominently in Dominican legislation.
Cool.
So it's like a kind of combo factor of Norbertine and Cistercian legislation, which is how our primitive constitutions were formed.
And the rule of St. Augustine is what you follow, correct? And also what the Norbertines here follow, which is neat. One question that I know a lot of folks have is, how do I discern? Right? And I think that, unfortunately, a lot of folks have an idea that discernment is some form of, sort of introspective navel gazing, that you just have to sort of sit here and go, what am I supposed to be? And that's not a very Dominican way of looking at discernment, from what I understand.
No.
And so I don't have a Jesuit bone in my body, so I can't speak to the Society of Jesus, but I just know that historically there's been a little bit of tension on certain points vis-a-vis discernment.
I've heard that.
Between the OPs and the SJs. And so could you talk to us a little bit about what discernment from a Dominican mode looks like? And then also just, is there a vocations crisis in the church?
So first thought, I think that a vocation is basically the coming together of certain virtues in your life which suit you for a state. So I think that if you're going to be a priest, if you're going to be a religious, you've got to have like the virtue of religion kind of at work in your life. You got to want to offer your life devoutly, prayerfully, sacrificially. You've got to have the virtue of magnanimity at work in your life. You got to want to do great things worthy of great honors because they're great, even if they're hidden, even if they're humble. You got to have a feel for their greatness, and there's got to be some charity working in your life. And in the sense that it's got to be for love. It can't be for personal self-aggrandizement. It's got to be for love. You got to like be signing up for a life in which you are poured out. And I think that like as you mature, you can bank on those virtues kind of coming together and coalescing and then inclining you to something good. So I basically think that like God is at work in our lives, in our desires. And I think that we can train our desires or inform our desires by contact with certain goods which are proposed to us. So somebody might say, hey, have you thought about being a priest? You could respond allergically, as most men do. Or you could say like, no, but maybe I could. Hard to say. And then you might take the opportunity to read something or to go on a vocation weekend or do whatever as a way by which to, like measure that or weigh that. And so I think like the basic idea is that we all come into this world broken, wounded and weak. And the drama of the life of grace and virtue and the gifts of the Holy Spirit is that we're gradually reconstituted as persons, and that we come to an appreciation of who we actually are and what we're actually for. And then we can begin in due course to trust our desires. So I think like, how do you discern a vocation? You pray, you make good use of the sacraments, you introduce some penance into your life, you study the faith, like you lay hold of good Christian friends, you serve the material, you just live a Christian life. And you can trust that God will make himself known in due course. But we come to our maturity by making choices, by actually committing to things. If we always remain on the sidelines or at the periphery, we'll never actually get on into the serious business of living.
Right.
Yeah. And then as for a vocations crisis, I don't think that there's a vocations crisis. It depends on how you define it. So at present, the like priest to parishioner ratio is better than it was in 1950.
Is that so?
Yeah.
Huh.
So like there were more priests then, but there were also a lot more parishioners. So given the pretty like significant rate of disaffiliation over the course of the past 2 generations, we're actually like doing fine as far as staffing goes. I think that there are a lot of empty institutions in Christendom. And I think that we feel a certain pressure to maintain those institutions, and that's what gets guys going in every imaginable direction. And it gets them kind of like, stressed in their vocations and then not as present to the people of God as a result. Don't smile too much. So like, I think that the call there is to set aside certain institutions. That means hard decisions. That means disappointment, anger, sadness. But it means putting priests in a position where they can be missionary disciples, like putting them in a position where they can evangelize their people, catechize their people, love their people. And I think that like the real vocational crisis is a vocational crisis with families. I just think that
Totally.
I think the children need their parents, and I think they need parents who love them and in whose love they feel secure. Because I think when you're secure in your parents' love, you are set up to flourish, right? You're set up to discern a vocation without fear that backing away from this or that will mean rejection or that you'll be left without recourse. So I think that like that's really where the focus has to be, on happy, holy families, and then or like the vocations kind of come organically from that.
Right. It just sort of naturally is something that people are thinking about early on.
Yep.
And they're thinking about marriage, and they're thinking about how one could serve the church, etc. And it is born of their family life.
Yep.
Right. Yeah. I don't know about you, but seminary is a slog.
Right.
And especially towards the end of seminary, you kind of just think, how much longer am I going to be in this seminary before I get ordained? And of course, now looking back on it, seminary is actually a beautiful time because it's a time of preparation, et cetera, but it is long. Now, seminary for diocesan priests is perhaps not as long as it is for religious, if you think about it as time in formation.
Sure, yeah.
So our formation looked different naturally
Yeah.
because we have different vocations within a vocation, as it were. But how long does it take to become a Dominican?
Somewhere between, I don't know, like 6 and 9 years.
Okay.
Depending on how old you are, what you studied before you enter, the province that you join, things like that. And I'd say that like the main reason for which it takes time is that it just takes time for a man to mature.
Yeah.
And I think that what you're dealing with are serious matters, and you don't just want to burden a guy with that, especially in a culture which struggles to mature human beings, or which struggles to require maturity of human beings. So I think that there's a sense that like in religious life, you set before people what we refer to as the form of life, or you offer them this opportunity to appropriate a form of life. But it just kind of takes us a while to get the feel for it.
Yeah.
It takes us a while to recognize that the burden isn't in fact heavy, it's in fact light, and that it's sweet to bear, and that it gives a really beautiful shape to our existence because we don't have to make it up anymore.
Exactly.
We can just like inherit it, we can appropriate it. So I think there's a sense that like, you're about to approach really holy things, you're about to deal with them on the daily basis. Like the prospect of sacrilege is real. Like you could end up neglecting these holy things, or you could end up mistreating these holy things if you're not educated in that or if you're not trained in that. So I think that there's this kind of progressive investment or there's this kind of progressive introduction to your responsibility and to the gravity of it, but also the joy of it too.
And so seminary is long, as it were, so that the man is appropriately formed for the task that he is given.
Exactly. And there's like the philosophy and the languages and the church history and the speech communication and the pastoral ministry and the preaching and teaching. And then there's like the doctrinal classes and the moral classes and the scriptural class. Like there's a lot of content.
Right.
And that's not to say that you have to be an expert of everything in order to teach anything. But I do think that you should know something of everything, because...
Sort of be a generalist.
Yeah, well, I think like the people of God come to you and they say, give me God. And then you ought to be able to say like, okay,
right,
I will give you, rather than like, can you like just refer that question to an expert? It's like, you're the expert in God. That's what a priest is.
And it's interesting because I think that there's something analogous that can be said about the role of a diocesan priest versus the role of a religious priest from sort of a medical analogy, that whereas the diocesan priest is sort of like the family practice doctor, you're sort of like the, what is it? The guy who sticks the tube down your throat? Endoscope guy?
Yeah, I'm a big upper endoscopy guy. Yeah.
Is it gastroenterologist?
Gastroenterologist or an ENT, ear, nose, and throat guy.
there you
Yes,
go.
I'll take both.
Yeah.
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 I've seen both.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Same.
Most recent general anesthesia was for an upper endoscopy.
Hey, same.
Let's go.
About a month ago.
No, that's awesome. It's like a year.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. You see, we're getting old.
We are.
It's a problem.
It's if you refer to your maladies with cute names, it feels less terrible. I refer to mine as a rumble tummy.
Oh, a rumble tummy.
Exactly. That's code for indigestion, which lasts days if I have like the slightest bit of dairy.
There you go.
It's a great grace in my life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've heard a comedian, this is perhaps not family friendly, but referred to it as a NASA rocket launch. But there's something particularly, vivid about
Yeah,
that.
no, that's illustrative.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
All right. So one of the things that's obviously on a lot of folks' minds,
It's like three folks.
both, yeah, right, both for good or for ill, is just why do priests have to be celibate,
Yeah.
right? And this I often find comes up when I'm getting my hair cut.
Fascinating.
Yeah, so I
Nice.
go.
I cut my own hair.
Oh, there you go. You
Yep.
see, religious versus diocesan.
It always looks like I did it myself. Yeah, exactly. People are like, wow, did you like chew those off? or did you do that with like a rusty file?
Right, a saw.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, obviously, priesthood as such does not require celibacy. I mean, in the early church, it wasn't the case.
In the East?
In the East, it's not the case. So in the Roman Church, we have a discipline in the Latin rite of the Roman Church. We have a discipline that says that unless dispensed, the vast majority of priests are going to be men who are celibate and who are then ordained to the diaconate as celibates and then ordained to the priesthood as celibates.
Yep.
What's that all about?
Yeah. Eunuchs for the kingdom.
There you go.
That's it, baby. Little Matthew 19 action.
Exactly.
So I think the basic idea is that Christ was celibate and that the priesthood is the love of the heart of Jesus, right? It entails a kind of identification with Christ. It entails a certain kind of following of Christ. It entails, to a certain extent, like even a spousal relationship with Christ. I know that people will be like, that's repulsive. And maybe you're right. But like there has to be a certain dedication of the priest's heart to the Lord, which entails setting aside other comparable bonds. Right. And so, whereas we talk about marriage as a comprehensive sharing of life, so like physical, emotional, psychological, spiritual, what we're talking about, like what the priest has with our Lord, is that a sharing of life of a similar sort. And I think that it's what the Lord asked of his apostles. It seems like, like you hear that he called them away from certain attachments from their fathers. In the case of the fishermen, we hear about Peter's mother-in-law.
Right.
We don't know whether or not his wife died or whether or not he was separated from her for whatever pastoral reason. But it seems like it was something that was baked into that invitation which the Lord proffered to those first followers.
And in the case of Paul, even more so.
Yep, no, certainly. And so like there's this sense that the following of the Lord Jesus and participation in his sacrificial ministry or his sacerdotal ministry will entail, like, it's going to mark the man. Mm-hmm. It's not going to leave you untouched. And there's no real promise that it's actually going to like make you healthy and wealthy and wise.
Right.
Like it actually might ruin you.
Yep.
Not to be like overly dramatic, but you're not like priests are probably going to die younger than their married counterparts.
Totally.
Because like they're not going to have a wife who's asking them how they feel and taking them to appointments and encouraging them to drive less chaotically so as to take care of their children and stuff
And
like
not
that.
to wear that ugly Argyle sweater.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
really
And to like get decent haircuts.
Yeah, exactly.
You've learned. I haven't. Yes, so basically, the idea is that it's an identification with Christ, it's a relationship with Christ, it's a disposition of docility to Christ's instruction of his first followers, it's a disposition of docility to the church in which he asks of her beloved sons. And I think at the end of the day, it's supposed to make, and like these reasons are kind of downstream, but it's supposed to make you more fruitful in that like your love is not so much preferential in a physical way, but it's preferential in a spiritual way. So like the Lord's love for his people, his hesed, his covenant love, is the type of thing which can dote on, those who are well-positioned and those who are poorly positioned, because the principle is that he loves because he loves, right? And I think that a priest has to have a certain detachment from worldly things if he's going to love as the Lord loves, because otherwise he's going to be tempted to like look out for himself and take care of his,
Totally. And I actually think that this is really good for me to hear as a diocesan from a religious, because we, by virtue of being secular priests, actually do have more attachments to the world that we cannot be attached to. But for instance, I pay taxes, you don't. I make a salary, you don't. I own my car, you don't have a car, right? But you also could not own one if you wanted to, because you can't have anything. So I think that a lot of times lay people think that diocesan priests especially are a life that is actually much more close to that which a religious lives, that is the vow of poverty, of total dispossession of everything that one owns. But that's not the case. So it's good for a diocesan priest to hear from a religious priest, because we both live celibacy, but celibacy also means a certain detachment from the world and from the world's goods. And it's something that I think I, as a diocesan priest, need to be continually reminded of, not only celibacy is the same, but the sort of detachment that we're all called to, the simplicity of life.
Exactly. Love of the heart of Jesus.
Amen.
Boom.
I just have one final question for you.
What is it?
Is there going to be Belgian beer in heaven and sackbuts?
Oh, nice. Yeah, great question. I hadn't thought about that, but so I think that there will probably be Belgian beer in heaven, but it'll be slightly different insofar as there won't be the risk of the type of cirrhotic tissue damage.
Yeah, right. Liver damage.
I don't think that. It won't wreak the same kind of unreasonable havoc that it has in the past. So it's going to be like all the benefits of Belgian beer and none of its detriments.
Concomitant risks.
Exactly. And as for playing the sackbut, once I figure out what it is, and once I found an opportunity or the next opportunity to use/play said instrument, I once tried to learn the mandolin, and it was in a building, a religious house, with thin walls. And I don't know that I've sufficiently thanked the man who lived next door to me, because it almost certainly drove him nuts to hear me try like the same 7 reels in trash fashion. So I think that what I probably should do is like pick it up, play it a little bit, and then respectfully decline to ever
use it again.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, I think that the sackbut is going to be revelatory for you.
Nice.
And the only problem is, as Baroque instruments, that you're going to have to deal with the fact that the pitch is slightly different. I think you'll survive.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank
Do you have
you.
perfect pitch?
Oh, I don't have anything like perfect pitch.
Yeah. Okay. Well, then it won't bother you.
No,
You'll just be delightfully ignorant.
Yeah, I like to sing somewhere between a quarter tone and a half tone flat at all times.
Like a Balinese throat singer.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The words were on the tip of my tongue.
I knew they were. I could see it.
No, honestly, like if I could just characterize most of my vocal performances as Russian atonal pieces, I think that'd be the best description.
Perfect.
Yeah, exactly. But apart from that, no. I'm fine solo and unaccompanied. Insofar as no one knows which way is up, they can just tell that the ship's going down.
Oh, there you go.
But there's something pleasant to watch a ship go down, provided that you're not aboard.
Absolutely.
It's like, ooh, look at that
Especially
guy.
if they're burning.
Poorly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, especially if it's in a river that's burning.
Oh.
There's 2 different Great Lakes beers that we brought into the conversation.
There you see, like the Cuyahoga, on fire.
Exactly.
Well, thank you so much, Father Gregory, for your time. Really appreciate you coming to California and talking to this random diocesan priest that they threw under the bus to talk to you. No, I'm just kidding. It's just a delight to talk to you.
Do you know in Australia they actually have little things in front of their buses that force the kangaroos underneath so that they don't come through the windshields?
I love it.
They're called rhubars.
Wow.
Yeah. So if you're ever looking to enrich your thrown under the bus imagery, you might incorporate rhubars.
A rhubarb.
Yeah,
because it's a roo, a kangaroo.
Exactly.
I love it. Mm-hmm. Wonderful.
So we've got that going for us, as Bill Murray once said in the movie Caddyshack, which is nice.
And done.